Whether you are on an adventure or at the downtown cafe, your answers are no more than a sniff away. Dog Training 360's purpose is simple: to teach you why dogs do what they do, as well as the action steps you need to take to have better communication, connection, consistency, and conceivability with your dog. We've been really talking about being accountable and being your dog's advocate and, what to prepare for, what to look for, but also just being aware and being just kind of really being responsible as a dog owner. And I'd like to just kind of wrap this series up with, how do you find a good rescue? What's a good rescue? How do you find a good breeder? What's a good breeder? Should you buy a puppy? Should you rescue? And how do you know what kind of dog to get? And so I was asked a question. It's funny, this last week I've had 3 different people really get into asking questions about what breed and, is good with kids, and I think we're ready. I've got a couple of ranch moms that are, the husbands are not going to let the dog in the house, which is fine. They're on ranches, but they want a family dog, and, what's going to be good in the, -40 in Wyoming. And also to, the losing their dog, and now they're ready, and now they want a dog that's going to be for their kids and up and coming. And so let's talk a little bit about some of the things to look for in rescues. One of the biggest frustrations that I have had with rescues through clients, I haven't had that experience, but the process that it takes to actually adopt through some of these rescues, if you don't go into it at one of their events.
Oh, because there's so much red tape to go through.
Yeah. I mean, I have one that she barely got approved, and it's been almost 5 months that we had to go through we had to jump through all these hoops for her to even get approved. She doesn't even have a dog yet. But she's also has adopted and rescued a dog from this rescue before. And
they should know.
Yeah. And it was a huge medical case that she took on and gave this dog the best life that it could have, and paid for, just a medical nightmare. And she stayed in touch, and she would send updates, but then yet she still had to go through all of this.
They're like, "Oh, we really don't know if we like you. If we want to give you a dog."
Yeah, and I feel like it's almost borderline of playing God a little bit, of you're not good enough to be a dog parent.
We're deciding
if
you can have this dog
and
or not.
I've watched even some top executives in the rescue world trying to adopt a dog, and they ended up going down south, like out of the state, to get a dog. Some of them wouldn't even call her back. And I don't get it. I don't understand where that's all coming from, if we want these dogs to have homes.
Yeah.
And who are you to decide if they're going to be a great dog owner or not, as long as they meet all the criteria on your application. And the application should really be, what's your budget? What are you looking for? What's your lifestyle? Not, we need 7 references of 7 different types of people that are not connected to you.
Brother.
And so it's really been a fascinating thing for me to just kind of watch how difficult. And then you have other organizations that are just ready to push them out the door and good luck, and then they won't take the dogs back, and then they cycle back through the shelters. And so I think you have to be really careful
Mm-hmm.
what your desires are, what your drives are, and that you should be asking yourself, what's my budget?
Mm-hmm.
What's my time?
Mm-hmm.
What's my lifestyle? Long or short hair,
Mm-hmm.
shedding or non-shedding, age.
Mm-hmm.
Research the age. Research a dog that's, you know, a year and a half. Research a dog of 8 months. You know, what's that like?
Mm-hmm.
And work with a trainer or work with somebody that will help you think clearly,
Mm-hmm.
and go in the right direction for it.
Mm-hmm.
This one ranch mom, there would be an outside dog. And she said, you know, we want some for the kids. Her kids are little.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you know, should we rescue? And I said, well, here's the challenge of rescuing. One, you don't know what baggage they carry with kids.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way of testing that until the dog is in your home for several months,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Yeah, because they're not exposing kids to dogs. In the
No, and the dogs
shelter.
aren't living around to that,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is you know, finding a rescue and organization that's going to allow you to have an outside dog.
That's right.
And then also if it's an outside dog on the ranch, is it going to stick around, or is it just going to be another statistic that they're going to pick up later on because they don't have that connection and that bond? And a lot of dogs do fine outside, and you know, they wait for their people and they're excited for them to come out. But some, you know, in the rescues, you don't. It's a wild card, really, with that, and then, you know, your connection stuff is way different to having an outside dog versus an inside dog. So I advise them that they should get a puppy. And think about getting it in the spring when everything starts warming up, and it can build up its stamina to be outside in the winter, or be able to keep it in the garage where it's heated, and you know, just you got to think about what your setup was. So then we started talking about breeds and what she was looking for, what she grew up with, what she liked. And I suggested a dog that was just not even on her list, based on everything that she had told me. So, I think that it's, you know, you have to look at that of, should I rescue? If it's the right thing for you, it will be the right thing for the dog. And then you're doing the dog right. And it's being accountable, just like everything else that we've talked about. If you're going to go the puppy route, I think we really get caught up in emotion.
I think you get caught up in emotion either way. Like if you decide to go get a rescue dog and then you go to the shelter, like
sure,
you're caught. You need to be not emotional no matter what you're doing.
Well,
it is really easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's I think that when you've done your due diligence of deciding what you're going to do, I think going into a rescue, because it's a bit more difficult to adopt a rescue than it is to, you know, fork over $3,000 to a breeder.
Sure.
They don't care. And I'm not saying that the rescue, you know, I sit here and say it's difficult to get a dog from a rescue. There's no happy medium. Right. Go pay your dog. There's your puppy.
Right.
But the breeders have a way of emotionally attaching you of how fabulous and wonderful, and look what we've done, and they've been in the house, and, you know, so they create this whole, like, this will be perfect picture. And so I feel like there's just no happy medium of any of it. Sure, there's emotion, but the rescues aren't, the people running the rescues in the shelters are not.
Yeah, there's this dog.
Yeah, you know, this is what we have.
Like, this is the perfect dog.
Right.
So
yep.
lovely.
They're and they're hypoallergenic, and they're bred specifically for this, and they are great with kids. And, well, you know, and I said to, you know, this one guy, I said, there's no breed that's good or bad with kids. It's their experience with the kids.
Sure.
Of what makes it good or bad. And their personality. Is going to be dependent on, can you handle a 3-year-old with your personality, or is it better for you to handle an 18-year-old where, guess what? An 18-year-old, just because they're older, doesn't make them safe. Now they're coming in and out of the house constantly, and people are coming in and out of the house, and they're there randomly. So that might not be an okay thing for a certain personality of dog, where others are like, oh, hey, you're back home. Oh, okay, now you're going. But would prefer a 3-year-old that they can romp and play and, be silly with. Yeah. So there's no breed that's good with kids. But any breeder will tell you that their dogs are great with kids.
Sure.
And we've had the grandkids come over and play with them. And we, and none of that matters. Like, none of it matters. It's all about a personality. So I think that it's easier to get emotional and get convinced
that that's the perfect dog for you.
Yeah.
No matter what it is.
Right. Yeah. So I think that, looking at a breeder who is really more responsible about how are they, one question that I tell people to ask all the time, and it throws breeders for a loop. What do you do for your puppies to help them be successful in their new home? And most breeders can't answer that. So it truly, that is one question that if they can give you an honest, like, oh, that makes sense. They go outside every hour. They're outside for a certain amount of time. Oh, and we feed them all separately, or we have 6 bowls instead of 1. We let mom get involved in disciplining the puppies. We do some stressing of the puppies when they're super little, so they understand stress and that they're not going to die and be reactive. Those are the things that I'm looking for in how people are raising their puppies and their litters. Do they send you home with some kind of guide? Do they have trainers that they recommend? Most breeders don't. Most rescues don't. And to me, that if you're a rescue, if you're a breeder, or if you're looking to get a dog, those are the things that's important. Just as much as how should we be accountable of making sure we have the right budget, making sure we're putting our dogs in school, making sure that we have routines and structures and expectations in place and ready for them. I think there's just as much accountability of us going and picking out a dog that we should be asking these questions.
Absolutely.
Because if you're ready, what have they done to help you?
Right.
And talk about a perfect marriage of, now we can train for fun and not behavior. Rescue or not, I just don't believe that, they'll either bring their baggage along if you let them or not. So it depends on if you want to leave their luggage at the rescue or if you want to bring it along and title them with it. Behavior is more environmental most of the time. And so you can either choose to bring it or not. And that was the other thing that the rescue is, well, this one's got some anxiety, or this one, so you can choose to take that baggage or not. And so I think it's important to work with somebody, find the right personality. I don't care what breed you get. I don't care what rescue you go to. It's really about finding the right personality for who you are. And I think that's really something about being responsible for it. Because don't you feel like with Louis, since you literally, that first breath he took, you wrote his book.
Absolutely. Yeah. By doing all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had a schedule, like a calendar, and I gave it to like everyone that came to my house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is what we're doing. And if you're going to come over, you're going to
be a part of
stuff, make an obstacle course out of toilet paper rolls and have him run around in the kitchen on, go on all different surfaces and make him be hot and make him be cold and go eat out of a bowl in the park and eat out of a bowl in the car and eat out of a bowl in the, wherever. All that kind of stuff. And I did it because I wanted him to be successful.
Right. Yeah.
And that is what people that say that they love dogs and they love the breed and that's why they want to breed it. You should get the feeling that they want them to be successful.
Yeah. Yep.
Like when they say, this is the perfect dog for you, la, la, la.
Yeah.
If you say why, why do you think that this is the perfect dog for me? And they have an answer that pertains to their personality, then you know that they want the dog to be successful with you.
Yep.
So I think you can feel that when you go to choose, go to get a dog. Like if they're like, oh, we think you should have this dog, it's this much money.
Right.
Oh, well, tell me a little about it. Oh, well, we do the regular things.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. But if they can explain to you their program or out of the dogs that they have, why they think this one is the right one for you.
Yep.
What the other personalities of dogs they have are.
Right.
Then they care about their dogs. They want to know what their personality is so they can match them up.
Yeah.
And to a degree, some rescues will do that too. Rescues that have dogs that are in the home and things like that.
Right, that are in the foster stuff.
So you can ask similar kind of questions if you're in that situation.
For sure.
But it's a big responsibility to write a dog's book.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
It shouldn't be taken lightly.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And I think that, the thing that that you have to look at is, this lady really didn't want these puppies. She didn't even know they were bred.
Oh, Louise.
Yeah.
Mom.
And so when you took, when you said, this is what we're doing. Yeah. There was emotion.
Sure.
And totally, Shannon, you could completely play off of that emotion and Louis would be a wreck.
Absolutely.
Because he doesn't know that he was given up at birth.
No.
No,
he didn't.
And so, but you could have created that emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I've been looking. I didn't just have, this dog's available. I'll take it right now. I'd been looking for a dog for several, almost years, I want to say. I'd really been thinking about what's the right kind of dog for me and my husband. And, we looked at all kinds of dogs. And, it was a circumstances that ended up to be seen kind of quick.
Right.
Here's a dog. You can get it next Monday or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'd been planning about it for a long time before the opportunity came up.
Right.
So I'm a kind of person that's look for a dog for a long time. And then when you'll be able to see the opportunity and snag it.
Yep.
And I feel that way with a lot of people that I've helped get their dogs that we've looked for a dog for a really long time. Yeah. And then I was like, that's the dog.
Yeah.
We gotta get that one.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
So if you look for a dog for a long time, but I could have played into all kinds of stuff with him because he's really bossy.
Yeah.
And if I was just like, oh, well, he didn't have a mother to teach him how to be. And that's why he's that way.
Right.
No.
Yeah. We're just not doing that.
I'm the mom. Yep. It's my responsibility.
Yep.
So if you're doing that, then I have to fix whatever I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
I'm the mom now.
Yep.
I'm the everything.
Yep.
But he horrible.
Yeah.
He would be a horrible, horrible dog.
Yeah. I think one of my super fun successes is I was at the shelter and we had a really good friend that says, when the right dog comes along, let us know. And this one, and it hadn't been that long of a conversation, but they had been really thinking about okay, we're ready. And I called them and I said, you need to come down and get this dog or it's going to be gone. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what's his story? I said, it doesn't matter what his story is. This is your dog. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you, anything about him because I don't know. And I don't usually, I never really would like to get the stories from,
because
the dogs there.
Transfer the baggage. And telling the story.
Right. And so, I just chose to never learn what dogs' pasts were based on stuff. Mm-hmm. So they went down, big black lab, big guy. And they were looking at purebreds and getting something in the Swissy side of things. And I said, no, this is your dog. So they came down and he's been the best dog. I mean, years, 6-7 years later, he's still the best dog ever. And there was no baggage to take. They started from scratch and we did lessons and we just took him one step at a time and he never manifested his life prior to them because we just never allowed it. Really, we just never asked him that question because we were ready to give him a new life. So I think that, you just, when it's right, take the time. You will get frustrated with some of the rescues if you're determined to go through, a rescue. That's great and it's fine, but be prepared for a journey. Be prepared to hunt around. Be prepared to go out of state. Be prepared to ask some questions, and be prepared to be told no. As far as the rescues and that stuff goes, from breeders, you be prepared to say no, and you be prepared to go on more of a journey than just, look, it's cute, let's go look at these puppies, because you will come home with one. You guaranteed you will come home with one. And so I think it's important to be ready to say no, be ready to walk away and think about it, because if it's still there when you're ready,
it's the right dog.
It's the right dog.
That's happened with me before with dogs I've gotten. Like, I went and looked at the dogs, didn't take it for whatever reason. Found the dog again several months later, and they're like, oh, he's still available, and I'm like, well, that is fate then. Because if you're still looking and you come back to it and decide it's the right choice and the dog is still there, then it's yours for you.
So, I mean, breeders, puppies are always going to be there.
Absolutely. But there's puppies all the time.
Look around, go see, call and talk to. Don't just go and, make that decision, because it just might not be the right one. And then you end up taking the dog back. Or you're going to pay a whole lot more in training because you can make it the right one. If you know how to make it the right one.
More work than to pick the right one in the first place. Right. And I think a lot of breeders too, I mean, if you're really serious about getting a dog and they're a good, responsible breeder, they don't put pressure on you like, well, there's only so many puppies and you better put in your down payment now and la 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 la. Because they know that they're breeding. They have so many dogs and they're going to have a litter here and a litter here and a litter here, and they might say, there's not the right dog for you in this litter. So we have prepared. Another one coming. But that lets you know they're responsible. Right. Like, don't take it as such a hard disappointment that you're not getting your dog right then. Take it as like that you're really working with someone that really wants the dog to be successful. Right. And they said, I don't have the right dog for you right now. I want to work with you and I have these more puppies coming. So let's just see like what's coming up for you. It's hard because you get excited.
For sure. For sure. But the excitement only lasts for 24 hours or 48 hours, and then you're not getting any sleep. So you have to think about that. And then you're not sleeping, and your life is flipped upside down for a year. So, I mean, yes, it's exciting, and yes, it's fun, and puppies are great, but they're a lot of work.
A lot.
A lot of work.
Just like having a baby.
And if you've never had a baby... You might never have one if you get the wrong puppy. You'll be like, no, we're not ever getting a dog again. And I've had that happen with people that they're like, yep, no, we ended up taking it back to the breeder and we will never get a dog again. And that's just unfortunate.
It's really sad. Because dogs can be so much fun.
Yes.
And when it's the right dog, it's even so much more fun. Like, because it's just like a little easier. It's still a ton of work.
For sure.
When it's the right dog, it's just like a little bit easier.
Yes, there's moments of good breaths.
Where you're like, oh, this is so much fun, as opposed to battling a wrong decision. To where you're like, but I want it to be so fun, and you're just like not having any fun at all. You're just battling through it.
And that's, I mean, as far as training goes, the people that battle... They end up doing board and trains and not give up, and we get through it. But it's hard. It's a lot of work when you're battling versus raising and guiding and directing, and you can go, yep, we have a puppy, versus my life evolves around this dog. That's not okay. This puppy, you got to give him time, but it should not just be.
They fit into your life.
The
other way around.
Exactly. Exactly. So my advice for the holidays is get help, ask around, ask questions, and get a dog that from a rescue, a shelter, a breeder that wants the dog to be successful and that they are working towards helping that dog be successful, puppy be successful in their new home.